I pledge allegiance
allegiance
to
to
the
the
flag
flag
of the
United States of America, and to the republic
for
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice.
justice for all. Okay. Let's go ahead and do a roll call. Can I see everybody? Renee, can we just do a roll call? I don't know if I have everyone on my screen.
I think we do, and then I'm going to have Josh help with our new alternates as well. So we've got Commissioner Davis.
Aye, here.
Commissioner Current.
Here.
Commissioner Ehart.
Here.
Commissioner Strauss.
Here.
And we have alternate, right?
Yes.
Ronnie Jackson, yep. And good to see you. And we have new alternate, is that right?
Correct.
Mr. Thomas. Awesome to see you.
Okay, are we sitting both alternates?
Yes, we are.
Okay, let's
Oh.
go ahead and
Yep. So Rondi and Alan, you both will vote tonight. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
okay. So we have roll call, seating of alternates. Our next item is approval of the agenda. Have we all had a chance to look at the agenda?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the agenda.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, I got a second. Can we do a roll call vote for?
Are we ready? All right, Chair Davis.
Aye.
All right, Commissioner Current.
Aye.
Commissioner Ehart.
Aye.
Commissioner Strauss.
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, and then let's go ahead and move on to approving of the minutes from last month. Now, remember, if you were not a part of last month's meeting, you cannot vote on this one. So once everyone's had a chance to look at it, and if I can get a motion to approve.
I move a motion to approve.
I got a
I
motion.
Motion to approve.
second.
I got a second, and let's do a roll call to vote.
All right. Chair Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Current.
I wasn't here. I was absent, so abstain.
Abstain. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ehart.
Aye.
Commissioner Strauss.
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Thomas, were you here last month? I was not either. Okay, so you will abstain as well. Okay, you're good, Chair.
Okay. So we are good with our minutes. Do we have anyone in public for the public forum?
You do not have anyone in the public forum.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. There's no announcement, so business item 1. Oh, why? I have the minutes open. I'm sorry, give me a minute.
That's okay.
Hope if I'm looking at the right item.
You go from public forum, and then we've got our first business item is the quarterly report.
Yes, thank you. Quarterly
All right.
report.
Okay. So good evening, commissioners. We have tonight a quarterly report from your Recreation and Community Services Department. And we have our Assistant Director, Community Engagement and Inclusion Administrator, Tim McLean, here tonight to give that presentation. I'm going to thank you in advance for your patience while I pull up one of several PowerPoints for this evening. Good evening. It's very nice to see you all. Hold on, I have like 5. Hold on one second. Let me pull up the right one. All right, I did it.
Thank you, Renee.
Okay, all right.
So we wanted to present you with a quarterly report, an update on what recent trends we're seeing. Next slide, please. And I thought that it would be good for us to start with kind of what our response was initially in the pandemic, especially for the new commissioners who maybe aren't as familiar with where we were, what we were doing then. But in 2020, all of our buildings closed. The only program we had open was the senior nutrition program. The playgrounds and outdoor facilities closed. If you were in the parks, you may have seen signs announcing that things were closed. We switched all our classes off basically and moved to virtual where we could. And that meant that teachers were teaching remotely over Zoom or similar applications. We instituted a virtual community center and provided links for things for people to do. And many of our staff resources in our buildings were reassigned to emergency related tasks. For example, senior center staff was making wellness calls. Many of our part-time staff were doing COVID testing and vaccinations. We were conducting town halls for mental wellness. And our social services area was really booming, providing a lot of resources for folks during that time period. Next slide, please. So in 2021, as the pandemic started to calm down a bit and we were able to reopen, we reopened playgrounds and outdoor facilities. We allowed picnic rentals, and we had some rules in place when we first allowed those picnic rentals. People had to keep track of all their picnic guests and be ready for contact tracing, that kind of thing. We continued our virtual classes. We were able to resume outdoor classes and outdoor camps. And at that time, we started adding some new outdoor sports classes. Kendo started as an outdoor class. We had archery for the first time last summer and did very well with that, and started golf with the golf club here in town. We resumed some of our outdoor events and started with the small events like movies in the park and music in the park. We allowed some of our facility rentals to resume. And again, we had some social distancing in place at the beginning. And some of our traditional indoor activities had to be held outdoors. So classes such as art classes and computer classes were outdoors in 2021. Next slide, please. Now that we're here in 2022, we've learned a lot from the past couple years, and we do see the demand for virtual classes for youth and adults is going down, probably because everybody's been on Zoom for school and Zoom for work, and they just don't want to do another Zoom call. It's still actually in demand, though, as virtual programming for seniors, and we think that that's probably because it allows people who have trouble getting to our facilities an opportunity to participate and see their friends. So we're still doing quite well with some of the senior Zoom senior programs. They're doing a Zoom class for Zumba, and that has a strong attendance. The demand for outdoor sports programs remains really high right now. There is a demand to bring back the indoor programs that's very high as well. And our picnic reservations remain high. At the height of the pandemic, that was the only way for people to really entertain, was to do outdoor events. But people are still enjoying being outdoors in our beautiful parks and continuing that as we go on. We wanted to show you on the next slide a little graphic to help you understand how our facilities have been being used. And I'll start with the community center. So the blue column shows you what things looked like prior to the pandemic, fiscal year 2020. And we did year to date. So I did till February of 2020, which is right before the pandemic sent us all home. And you can see that the community center, you can see that the community center, something looks a little wrong here, doesn't it? So the auditorium was in higher demand when we were in 2020. and then went down in 2021 and 22 with the pandemic. It's not down as far as you might think because we've been using it for vaccines and for COVID testing. So those count as a use for that facility, even though it's not a recreational use. When you look at our classrooms in the pre-pandemic year, we had a lot of classroom use in the community center that year. And then it drops really significantly during COVID. And you can see that it's starting to pick up again in the light blue bar, which is the year we're in right now. Dance studio, same thing. It was busier pre-pandemic, then it dropped. And now it's starting to climb back up, but not fully there yet. You'll also notice we've added this outdoor areas, and it only has the light blue bar because we didn't use the outdoor areas around the community center for classes and other types of events in the manner that we're using them now. So now we actually are booking it into our system as a rental when we're using the walkway or the amphitheater that's outside the community center. Next slide, please. When we want to look at our outdoor sports facilities, tennis courts, the year prior to COVID is the blue bar, and then there's just a complete drop off during COVID. For a long portion of that year, the tennis courts were closed. And then when they reopened, I think people were probably just using the courts, but not booking a rental for the court. And now you can see that they're starting to book rentals, and that bar is coming up again. If you look at our baseball fields, we actually have more use on the baseball fields right now than we had pre-COVID. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And same with soccer fields. And that's, I would think, Renee, probably due to our demand for our classes using those facilities in addition to the sports teams in the area. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and then also some of our soccer use the outfields of the baseball fields, and we also are home now to our softball program, our PAL softball league. So I think those are some of the differences you'll see in those charts.
Mm-hmm. And then just totaling up the sports total, and this includes both the outdoor sports areas and indoor sports areas at this sports center. You can see we're actually doing better this year than we were doing in that pre-pandemic year with uses, just because we are so busy with different things outdoors, and then also trying to, the sports center is back operational on the inside. So unlike some of our other buildings that's remained closed longer, it opened and was going. Next slide, please. Another interesting story to tell you is about our picnics. And if you look at the blue bars for our small, medium, large picnic areas, we were pretty strong going into the pandemic. And then there is a drop off, but it's actually higher than many of our things during the pandemic because we were, again, allowed to have picnics. And one of the things that I find interesting when I look at this is that our demand for our medium and large picnic areas has actually exceeded where it was during the pre-pandemic year. Again, because people are entertaining outdoors. So those bigger picnic areas are the ones that are most in demand right now. Next slide, please. Can't talk about the uses of the space without talking a little bit about the rental and program revenue. And this chart I know is a little bit hard to read, but it's showing you kind of what our rentals look like every month as we've gone through the past year. And that blue bar at the bottom is the rentals, and it's low, but it's steady. If this were a lot bigger, you'd be able to see that it's not on the zero line as we go through until we get to January 2022. And of course, what happened, we had Omicron. So we do have a dip there because we had to give refunds for those rentals last month. So that's why that dark blue line dips a little in January below the zero. If you look at our yellow line, that's our registrations, and that pattern, while the registrations are less than they would be in a pre-pandemic year or a normal year, they still follow the same pattern in that we spike in May. And of course, when we're spiking in May, that's because we have summer camps coming up and people are buying those and enrolling in those. And if you look at the net revenue, which is the light blue line, that really spikes in May, even higher. And the reason, of course, for that is because in addition to the summer camps and the picnic rentals and the things that happen in summertime, we're also getting all our ATV registrations for the coming school year at that time. So, so that's why it's peaking right there. Next slide, please.
And before we move on, ATV is after the bell, which is the after school program at the elementary schools.
And it would also include life for the middle schools would be in that number too. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was.
I was wondering what all
alphabet
those
soup
elementary
here.
schools were doing riding around on ATVs.
It's very progressive transportation. Yeah.
Yes, apparently. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Renee.
You're welcome.
So as we look ahead for classes and talking about some of the trends, I was on the phone with our contract class coordinator today talking about what he's seeing, that we're getting a lot of requests for art classes and people want things beyond painting and drawing, which is what we can usually do in our classrooms. So we're getting requests for pottery and other kinds of artwork. So we're looking at what can we do in the facilities that would sort of meet that demand. We're also getting a lot of requests for STEM classes, not so much the Lego type classes. We have a pretty robust collection of those, but science classes especially are a thing that we're trying to ramp up and add more of that they're interested in right now. Then family classes, we have always had a pretty strong parent and me, program for the little ones, but people are starting to enjoy doing things with their whole family, their older kids. And for example, the kendo class has older children and adults in it. And so there's some other classes like that that are doing well right now. And we're seeing an interest in more of those. We're also receiving requests for weekend classes. And I know we're trying to program weekend classes. That's always a popular request because many people are working and can't participate during the week and can't bring their children to classes during the week as easily as they could on the weekend. One thing that's a little different from pre-pandemic and probably reflects the job market right now, we're getting requests for morning and lunchtime classes for adults. And I'm not talking about senior adults, I'm talking about adults who would normally be in the workforce but are not right now and are looking for things to do at that time of day. So I know we're working on programming some classes there. And then, of course, like every other employer, we've had some instructors who've retired, who've left the business, left the area, who are taking a step back right now because they're hesitant to teach with COVID out there. So that is another challenge that we face right now. And we've found some great new instructors and will continue to do so to sort of fill those holes. Next slide. A couple other trends I just wanted to point out to you. Volunteering, of course, is one that's picked up and continues to pick up. The council has an interest right now in Beautify Milpitas activities, an upcoming Adopt a Spot program. So we started, was it May, Renee, when we started the Beautify Milpitas things, or June? Somewhere in the summer, early summertime last year. And we did something every month, inviting volunteers to come and help us clean up the parks and clean up the downtown area where we held Holiday Magic. And those have been popular events with lots of people attending. So we're going to continue that program and expand it. We are also looking to begin finding volunteer opportunities in theater, arts, and culture for folks. With the upcoming theater production of Disney's Descendants, we're looking for volunteers to work backstage and try to incorporate more people than just the cast members' families, which have traditionally been the volunteers, but there's plenty of opportunity for everybody, even if you don't have a member of your family in the cast, to get involved. So, so that's kind of new. We had some fun over the holiday magic period with volunteers helping to paint the murals. Didn't have a huge number of them, but those that were there really enjoyed it. So we're looking for more arts related activities that they can volunteer, that people can volunteer and help with. And also cultural volunteer opportunities. We've had the translation volunteers to help us for a while, but I'm sure that there will be a lot more coming up, especially since councils has some interest in some cultural events coming forward. So that's another area of volunteers that'll grow. As far as events go, and I know Josh will tell you more about this, I'm sure, in coming meetings, but some of the things that we experimented with during COVID that we're keeping going forward. Premium seating, we had premium seating where you had a blocked out area for your family that was socially distanced from other folks in the outdoor movies. And it actually turned out well. It allowed us to get a little bit of revenue for that. And people enjoyed having a little bit of space around them at those events. So we will continue to have a premium seating area. But of course, there are regular seating areas as well, and general seating will continue to be free. So there's something for everybody with those kinds of events. We're working on getting more community groups involved in participating. I'm sure you know that the city has a robust flag raising program, and we would like to have more participation from community groups in coordinating those flag raising activities. We've also talked, again, following the success of Holiday Magic, about the idea of incorporating arts and culture into lots of different events. And so we're looking forward to opportunities to do that. And then the last thing that's kind of on the horizon for us as a trend that I wanted to share is grants and sponsorships. So we are definitely working on those. We have a couple of ARPA related programs that are coming forward in the social services area, and we will be continuing to seek grants and sponsorships in many other areas as well. We had a great turnout for sponsors for Holiday Magic, so that demonstrated to us that we can really involve the business community in our events, and we're looking forward to doing it again this year. So that, I think, is everything I had on this year's or this quarter's report. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions from the commission? And I see our vice mayor has joined us as well. Hi, Vice Mayor. You're muted.
Your mic's off.
Sorry, I'm late. I thought my meeting started at 7, but it starts at 8. So,
Oh,
okay, so I'm here.
we have
Sorry
1
about
hour
that.
with you then.
Yeah.
Welcome. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Yeah, any questions from anyone on all of those slides? Some good information. Chair, I think you've got a hand raised. Oop, you're now muted. It's contagious.
I'll just go ahead. Just an informational question. Our fiscal year, the city fiscal year, is it October, beginning July?
It's July 1st through June 30th. So when
Okay,
you
thanks.
see on that chart where it has fiscal year 20, that's the end of that year. So you'll see fiscal year 20 has some higher numbers in it because we had half of 2019 where we
Yes.
weren't,
Yes, I understand.
dealing with COVID. Yeah. So that's kind of why that first year looks a lot busier.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good question. Thank you. Any other questions or comments, or think there's a trend that you've heard of that maybe we haven't heard of yet? We hear a lot. Nothing surprises us anymore if you've got something else. Well, if you have any questions, you can always email, myself or Tegan or Josh if you have questions on that presentation. and really just kind of gives you an idea of what we look at when we're going through planning for next year along with the Parks Master Plan. So yes, Vice Mayor.
I had a question on the volunteers for the theater and all those other events you're doing. Is that open to high school students to volunteer?
Yes,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's great to know. So they can use their community service for that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'll contact some folks at the high school and see if
Yeah.
they're interested.
Yeah, many of them get all their hours with us if they're diligent, which is great. That's what we're here for. And when we have a list of events that are upcoming, rec and community services staff, they work with the ASB guidance counselors and stuff,
Good.
and they email all those out to all the high school and the junior high Gmail accounts so that they're up to date.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, that's great to hear. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
I have a question. Is the city doing anything to support or to measure bicycle use?
Bicycle use?
Bicycle use.
Okay. So yeah, right now the engineering staff who does a lot of the project management for the master plans, they are finishing up the bicycle and pedestrian master plan. And so there is some measurement in there about the average use, the trails that are available. And that's sort of the document that we capture that in. And so that's updated every, 10 years or so. But yeah, that's part of the measurement. So that plan did come to you guys in a draft form, just as an informational, as an update. I'll see if it's coming back for any reason, but if not, happy to share, the final products after it gets to City Council.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Great.
Thank you for your time and the information.
Yeah. Thank you, Tegan.
Yes, thank you.
All
Okay,
right.
and I think our next item is an update on the Historical Society tour.
Great. So we are privileged to have a commissioner who is also on the Historical Society, Commissioner Ehart. So one of your work plan goals is to support history of Milpitas, and one of those forms listed on your goal sheet or your work plan is to help support and promote the annual tour. So Commissioner Ehart shared a presentation with me. Let me see if I can pull that up for you guys. So he'll go through what's been done in the past, if you're not aware, and then ways that this commission can support the 2022 tour. All right, that's it. Let me do presentation form. All right, Joe, go ahead.
Okay, so just a little bit of background. The tour is the Historical Society does this once a year. Usually it's around June, but we tend to try and set the weekend. It's a Saturday in June, usually late. But we actually try and finalize that date relatively lately before the event, close to the event itself. And the reason for that is that one of the things that people like to do is they like to go up to an actual operational apricot orchard, which we have here in Milpitas. And a lot of people don't necessarily know that, but anyway, we do. And so we try and time that tour so that we can make that one of the tour stops and where people actually see what the process of dealing with apricots is like. And anyway, it's usually June, so it could be, depending, it's very seasonal. In other words, it's a question of Mother Nature and when she's going to cause apricots to ripen, and they have an extremely short, when they ripen or they're on the verge of being ripe, they actually pick them very rapidly and so on and so forth. They have to be picked extremely rapidly and processed. And so on. So anyway, but that's usually sometimes early June, typically middle to late June, rarely, but occasionally in July. And like I said, it's Mother Nature kind of decides when things are going to be right. But that's one of the things where people can see something that used to be very dominant here in Silicon Valley, the growing of fruit and things like that. And so that's one of the popular things. So, but anyway, usually around June. And in recent years, relative, forgetting COVID for a second, but in recent years, we've organized them around as a bus tour, which was not the case for many years. And the bus that the society rents is like 50, we'll carry 55 people. And so we'll take a group of 55 on a tour, and we try and change the locations along the way and so on and so forth. But if you go to the next slide, this is a handout, by the way, which you're actually going to see, and I'm not going to go through it in detail, but I want you to see one of the pieces of material that we provide anyone that goes on the tour. In the last several years, the last two previous tours, maybe a better way to say it, it was been a 16-page pamphlet that's 8.5 by 11. It's really nicely done, and this is something they can keep and take away. But it provides a lot of history. I will go through that on the tour itself, but this is something they get to keep, and so on. For example, we started and we were talking about the history in and around the library itself and what was locally there. And one of the reasons why we did that is that's where we're actually people were signing in, because you have to register for the tour. There are only 55 seats on the bus. And so there are murals on the wall in the parking garage of the library and so on. So that particular, in June of 2019, one of the things that I did is I oriented them to things that were very specific there. Next page. And this is a continuation, but you can now also see some of the agricultural aspects of the city. And then the color photo on the right, we were at the library, and one of the things that's interesting about that, I think probably everyone here knows it, but it used to be the former grammar school up until the middle 1950s when it was closed, and we started. That's when Milpitas started expanding rapidly because of the Ford plant. And but that's the 1916 to 1956 grammar school that you're actually seeing there in that front. The library has been built around it, which I think was a wonderful idea. Okay, next page. These are on the left page. Those are actually two photographs that I had never used before. The top one, if you're curious, is actually the conversion of the grammar school, the process of starting the conversion of the original grammar school into the library. And you'll notice there's this opening center in the old grammar school. That was an open area. It was a quad play area, and they're starting the process of enclosing it. And in the bottom photograph, you can see that glass kind of pyramid is not the quite word, but right in the center there, you can see an elevated thing. That's that same quad area. In other words, it had been completely enclosed. It's now the magazine reading area at the library. Over on the right, that's the DeVries house, Dr. Rensselaer Smith house. He's, I think, the second doctor in Milpitas, but architecturally, that's a really interesting house. Next page. It's right across from the library. The picture on the left, that's an unusual picture. Probably early 1900s. The prominent building there in the right half of that picture is today's Amgen building. So just to help you synchronize.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the way it used to look in about 100 some years ago. And over on the right page, there's actually several interesting buildings there. The one in the left that you can see part of, that's actually the building previous to the current Red Chili's restaurant, which used to be the Campbell's Corners. Before that, it was Smith Corners. This is before Smith Corners. That's that building on that left, on page 9 in the upper left there. Across the street's the Milpitas Hotel, which actually went by several names, but it was known as French's Hotel after the owner at the time, Alfred French, and became Milpitas Hotel. And over to the right, again, you're seeing it's the Peugeot store, but it's, today's Anjan building where the front has been architecturally modified, modernized, if you will, from what was, typical styling of say 100 years ago. So you're seeing a different angle in this photograph on the right. You're looking kind of northwesterly. That's Main Street there in front, today's Main Street. And then the photograph on the left, you're looking southerly. The tower, the spired building in the distance there over, so it's on the western side of the road, but that was actually the old St. John the Baptist Church, which actually went through several forms. There were fires that destroyed it at various points in its history. But today it's a completely different building, and it's over on Abel Street. But that in 1900 or so, that was the St. John the Baptist Catholic Church.
Commissioner Ehart, just for time's sake, if we want to move on about the tour itself,
Yeah,
I could listen to you all day long with these photos.
No,
but
absolutely.
We want to get through the meeting. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, and actually we can stop at this point. But anyway, you get an idea of what we try and provide in the way of material.
Yeah.
Now, as far as this year's thing goes, again, and we don't have to look at the rest of the slides. We can just talk about maybe this plan, and that's the Adobe. I've been meaning to talk to Renee because this is about the time that we engage in planning for the historical tour. There are two concerns. Okay, one is what's COVID going to be like in June, and we really don't know that. But I think it's our intention probably to go ahead and at least try and plan a tour. If nothing else, we try and plan a tour if we want to do it, and then if we have to not do it, fine. But if we've planned it, then we're ready to actually execute. The thing that I was wondering is when was the Alvisa Adobe going to be ready? Because we could do something really special and different this year.
Yeah.
And so we have time to work that out, because I believe that there is the hope that the Alvisa Adobe will open as a museum in mid-year, right?
Yeah. And so, I had my crystal ball, and I knew you were going to ask me that question tonight. So we are wrapping up that project. I'm very excited about it for the community. I think it's going to be amazing. The Historical Society has helped out with many of the displays and the stories that are going to be told on the walls. We've consulted with the Muwekma tribe leadership. So it's just a really cool story that's going to be told inside the building and outside as well. So we are on track to finish towards the end of summer. And so I think in the fall, we'd be able to, if everything keeps going, knock on wood, we'd be ready to open up for some tours. So, but we'll keep in close contact with you as always.
Okay, but that'll be a separate event. Yeah, I'll see. But we'll, like I said, in our March board meeting, we'll probably discuss and make a decision to actually go ahead with a tour. And like I said, we'll plan it with the hopes that we can do it. But and then I start into designing what would actually be in the tour itself. But the key is that, and the city in recently, when we transitioned to using a bus to transport people, and we did not used to do that. And to just briefly explain, what we used to do is circulate an itinerary and tell people to meet us at certain locations at certain times. But what that creates is parking problems, and sometimes you don't have any idea how many people are going to come to each of the locations. So in a way, it's very less efficient. And when we go on the bus tour, one of the interesting advantages of that is that they actually get about a full 4-hour tour, because when we're in motion and touring through the city, I'll talk about things that are interesting in terms of history, but we're not necessarily going to stop at and get off the bus and go investigate. So they actually get a much more comprehensive tour than what we used to do with the bus thing. So anyway, when we make the decision to go ahead and I talk about the itinerary, and I usually come up with ideas and then we work it out as collaboratively, I'll certainly let the city know. One of the ways that, and that may have been the Planning Commission, We have like I say, the last several tours, we petitioned the city, applied for a $500 grant, which is the most that they will give. And the city's been really kind about doing that. And that defrays, in these days, that probably pays about half of the bus cost. This is which you may not know, this is a tour that we pay for ourselves, generally with the exception of the grant. And then we have, there are businesses that actually contribute to it, but the people that go on the tour, they don't pay anything. It's done as a public service for them. And so businesses and the society and the city pretty much put this together financially and just let everybody. Last year, if you're curious, I'll conclude with last year, like I say, we have a 55-seat tour bus and we had 110 people registered.
Yeah, it's popular. So
Yeah.
you have a question from Vice Mayor.
Okay.
I just thank you, Joseph. I just wanted to say, if you get a chance, go on that tour bus across the street. We also visited the old St. John the Baptist graveyard that's there, and the owner showed us the apricots, how they put them on carts. And then I was telling him about my experience when I was a kid. We used to cut apricots at the Weller Ranch. And he was like, oh, good. You know, maybe you might want to cut some apricots. We're shorthanded because they're really looking for people to cut the apricots. But that was funny. Anyway, I really highly recommend that you attend those tours. They're really educational. That's all. Thank you. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
Yeah, they are great. I've gone, and when you think you know everything, you go on a tour with the Historical Society and you always learn something. So the question right now, Commissioner Ehart, is how can the commission, as far as their work plan, then help support the tour? Is that helping to advertise for it? Is that, promoting it within, everyone's personal circles? What are some of the ways that the commission can support the tour and help get the word out?
Yeah, I think all of those. One of the advantages, though, we'll obviously, generally speaking, we'll probably almost always sell out, particularly in recent years, non-COVID years. We just over-register like crazy. And we actually do a waiting list, if you're curious, in case some people cancel. And we tell people that are high on the waiting list to actually come the morning that we go on the tour, because there are people that don't show up. And so we add them into the tour. But advertising, actually, one of the things, it's maybe, advertising through the rec department on Facebook and things like that. The thing that we like is, of course, to get people that have not been able to come on the tour and so on. Some people like to come more than once, and the reason why is because we changed the tour in some respects. So, but I would appreciate having lots of new people, other people that are interested and so on. Yeah, that would be helpful. Does the $500 grant, I was curious, because we apply to the city and the city council approves, but does it come out of your budget, our budget?
No, the city council is very generous, and they have a budget in their budget, so they can grant these grants of support, or there's another section where up to $1,500 they can waive facility rental fees for nonprofits that are holding community events and things like that. So it's part of that program. So
Okay. Yeah, but yes, helping advertise, I think, would probably be one of the, because like the more advertising, the wider the knowledge, the awareness of it. And and that helps. We put it in the newspaper, we have a mailing list of about 200 people now that include teachers and so on. As I encountered teachers in one of my other roles in the Historical Society, I tend to put them onto the mailing list, and just so they get information and things like that. So we're doing what we can, but I think that, anything that you want to do in the way of helping advertise it would be great.
I think I'm sorry, go ahead, Chair.
I did want to say, do you guys ever record it and put it up so people that aren't able to come can see it? Is that something that's been done in the past?
No, but that's we have not done that in the past, and actually in a way that's not quite the same as actually being at the physical site. And experience in the site, so yeah, it's an interesting point. But we have not video recorded it and then put it up on, say, YouTube or the Historical Society website. No, that's not something that we've done in the past. Interesting idea. Yeah, interesting idea.
Well, and I think the time is right, and the Historical Society has their tour set sharing your graphics with us, and you can share that through staff, and then we can help to promote as part of the work plan, and then also sharing it with each of the individual commissioner members. If you share with 100 of your closest friends who live in Milpitas, then helps get the word out as well. Word of mouth is a very strong marketing tool. So, but we can do all the above.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
Any questions for Commissioner Ehart on the tour itself? If you want to ask them for pre-registration, you can do that outside the meeting. All right. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. So our next item is a presentation and discussion with what goals on the bike and pedestrian trail.
Yeah. Okay. This is a night for PowerPoints. So let me pull up the slideshow and kick it off. So as you all know, if your work plan is bicycle and pedestrian trails, and I know that one of the focuses has been bicycle events and just bicycle transportation within the city for this group. So there's quite a lot that has happened and can continue, and new things as well. And so we wanted to have a large discussion with you guys. So I'll be presenting along with Josh Clevenger and Lisa Saradella on some four topics tonight. So first one we'll talk about is the bike repair clinic. We'll talk about bike to wherever day, family bike day mini events, and future street bicycle events. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Josh and Lisa to talk about the Milpitas bike clinics.
Lisa, I'll let you start.
Okay, good evening. Thank you. I will tell you a bit about the bike repair clinic that we have held last year. It was done with Turning Wheels for Kids, a cycle of caring. And Turning Wheels for Kids is a nonprofit ran primarily by volunteers. The bike repair clinics are free and mobile to serve communities in need. We did hold our event in May of 21, and it was very successful. Signups were taken prior to the event, and all 115 appointment times were filled with a waiting list. Reservations were offered to the Milpitas Assistance Program participants first for children ages 3 to 17, and then it was promoted to the community at large. Participants did sign up prior to the event through Sign Up Genius. It worked out very well. They got a link and very user-friendly to sign up that way. The volunteers were recruited based on the number of appointments that we had. Minor repairs were made, such as flat tires, squeaky brakes, broken chains. And the city's role is to identify and secure a site to hold the event, promote the event, and encourage registration, assist with check-in. And then what the families do is they bring their bikes, they're assigned a time to drop off their bikes. And then when their bikes are ready, the volunteers call the families that their bikes are ready and can come pick them up. And we are planning a bike repair clinic for this year. We're in the planning stages of that now.
Great. And I think Commissioner Thomas had his hand up. You still have it up, Alan, or did you want to wait?
I took it back down. It was in the notes. I had the question before she got to it.
Okay. All right. Well, good. At least it's answered. Thank you. All right. So yes, super popular event. This was part of our community services effort and helping out the community during COVID. Getting people out, doing something safe during COVID that was more an autonomous recreation or sport, such as bicycling, was important. Bikes break all the time and not everyone knows how to fix them, and they can be really expensive to fix. So this was a great effort. Lisa led this event last year and it was really popular. So we do have plans to bring it back in 2022. So Bicycle to Wherever Day. So if you haven't heard about this, it's the event formerly known as Bike to Work Day, and it is popular in several cities. This year, 2022, Bicycle to Wherever Day or Bike to Work Day is May 20th. And what we've done in the past is you assume people are going to be biking to work. I think the 20th is a Friday, if I'm not mistaken, although it could be. But we have a table at City Hall in the morning, sort of like a refreshment or, a hydration station between 7 and 9 a.m. right in front of City Hall. People that are biking in, be they Milpitas, City of Milpitas employees, or anyone that's just biking through Milpitas to get to their work in Fremont or beyond, they can get hydrated. We hand out some snacks, the water, and then the city and the county's bicycle trail information. So
I think that one of the things that's key is that I worked this event a couple of years, and there is a lot of people. I didn't realize how many people use our trails to commute through Milpitas going into Silicon Valley. It was very popular with out of Milpitas people coming through and hitting our table. I think it was really encouraging seeing them and kind of being able to communicate with them what we're doing in Milpitas.
Great. Thank you, Josh. I forgot you were out there very early. So that's another event focusing on bicycle transportation. The Family Bike Day. So this was an event, I'll call it a mini event because it was smaller, that was held typically in the summer. And it was a meetup trail ride event. It encouraged families to get out on their bikes on a weekend morning, and usually it was in the middle of summer or early fall. And it was a promotion of the city's bikeable trails. We have Berryessa, we have Penitencia, and we have Coyote Creek trails. And I believe all of them have some element of both bicycle and pedestrian access. So it was really time to get everyone out on a collective date. People would come with their bikes and start at the trail at, let's say, 9 a.m. on a Saturday, and everyone would, bike as far as they wanted to go and then bike back. So they had a shared experience with their families and maybe other people in the community. This is great, getting people out and keep getting them active, but it's also great to highlight all the trails, beautiful trails that exist in Milpitas. And there's a potential for this commission moving forward to select a different trail each year and highlight certain elements of it or the history of it out as they're promoting this small event out into the community. Could also expand just from Family Bike Day into, walk and ride day in Milpitas or something like that, especially after the bicycle and pedestrian master plan comes out. I think it'd be a nice tie-in. This would be a commission event, which means that it's the commissioners that need to work the event. There is a pop-up table with some information at the beginning of the trail ride. That is something that the commissioners are tasked to do. This is different from the bike clinic because that is the department event that we handle as part of our community services section. The Family Bike Day is something that this commission is tasked to do on their work plan. The street bicycle event overview. This was something that came up during your early work plan conversations and something that was added to your work plan for this year and approved by City Council. So this was, I believe, envisioned to be a larger city event, larger than Family Bike Day, where it was, like a meetup kind of event. This was going to be larger on a street where there could be some street closures, and, Milpitas and large could, get on their bikes and go down the streets, something similar to Viva Calle in San Jose, something like that, but in Milpitas and highlighting Milpitas's bicycle access and just bicycle community. So this is a larger discussion where you as a commission would want to talk about the scope, your role in this would be a complement to the staffing effort. Something like this would take some street closures and things like that. And so we wouldn't hand that over to the commission. Staff would need to help with that. But your discussion on the scope and what you would like to do and think that the community would respond to is something that staff would then take that scope, form a budget and an events overview, and then send it back to City Council for final approval and some budget allocation. So those are the bike events. I'm going to move on to the next discussion slide, and then we can talk about each one individually. And then if you had any questions, you can go ahead and ask those. Then we'll start with the bicycle repair event. Expert Lisa Ciardella, she's our sports and aquatics coordinator, is here. She can answer any questions. She was really in charge and saw the vision of this last year. Like I mentioned before, this is a department event. We do it as part of our community services. It was very helpful to families who were at risk or in need. So really for this one, we are looking for volunteers from the commission that might want to help out. And volunteers for this could be one of a couple things. One, you could volunteer to help repair bikes if you're so blessed with the ability to do that. They will take volunteers from anywhere. You could also help staff. You could help check people in for their appointments or help make phone calls when their bikes are ready so they can come pick them up. So we're looking for volunteers from the commission for this event. If we don't get them, then we continue on with the event itself, but this is just an opportunity for the commission to participate. So I'll open up for questions or volunteers from the commission for the bicycle repair clinic event.
I'll start off by volunteering for whatever needed.
Okay.
So yes, I love what I saw of the event last year and would love to be a part of it however possible.
Okay. And we have Commissioner Thomas and Commissioner Jackson also have their hands raised, so you can call on them as you like.
Go ahead, Commissioner Thomas.
I can help with the repair event. I volunteer for that.
Great.
And then we had Ehart, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Ronnie.
We have Commissioner Jackson first, actually.
Oh, okay. Jackson.
I would love to do check-in for appointments. That sounds awesome. Of course, I need a date because, calendars. So anyway, as soon as you get a date, let me know and I would be happy to do that.
We'll get one. So then you have Commissioner Ehart and then Commissioner Current.
Ehart, go right ahead.
Yeah, I can help in any way that's needed with the exception of repair. I haven't repaired a bike in 50 years. And so I doubt that I could repair a bike as they're built today because they're actually really different. But I could support in any other way that is needed.
Great. Thank you. And then Commissioner Current.
So one thing I'd like to be sure, and I guess I'm influenced by the fact that almost exactly a year ago, right in front of my house on North Park Victoria Drive, I saw a child get run over on a bicycle. He was on a bicycle and he got run over by a car. So I hope that there's going to be lots of notice to the community on these days that these bicycle events are happening so that people are on the lookout for bicyclists and that education about safety when you're riding on the street with cars and also on the sidewalk because I'm a little bit mobility impaired now, so sometimes I'm out on the sidewalk with my walker and I've nearly been killed by a couple of bicyclists who are riding on the sidewalk like they're not supposed to. And they don't think they need to get out of the way for me. Okay, whatever. But I'm not so worried about that as I am worried about particularly kids getting hit by cars. So I don't know whether that's part of all of this, but I hope it is. And
you bring up a good point, and I think as this commission works on all of these opportunities, that things you may want to make available in two ways. One is marketing, and then the other is any literature that you want to hand out or make available to the community includes those safety tips. And so we have great opportunities and access to social media, Nextdoor and things like that target neighborhoods. So for example, on a family bike day event, if you're going to hit Coyote Creek, then we could specifically target those neighborhoods and make sure that they know, hey, there's a bike event coming in, and be on the lookout and stuff. So I think that could be part of the overall conversation that's definitely important and needed. So great point. Okay.
Anyone else?
Anyone else for bike clinics? Well, Lisa, you have an entourage, so.
Yes, I can help if help is needed.
Okay, thank you.
One question about the bike clinics. Have there been any thought of doing something for the adults of the kid that having their bike worked on? Because I know it's nice to get the whole family out, so.
Yeah, we did an adult one as well, and we did that earlier. Oh gosh, I don't remember what month it was anymore, but we did it before the youth one, and we focused on that because one, again, it's just physical fitness and getting outside and promoting that, but also bicycles are a way that many of our Milpitas residents get to work. And so if they needed to get to work, but because of the times didn't have the means to fix their mode of transportation, we wanted to help with that. So we have done that as well. And we had a greater response to the youth repair one, but we will look into doing the adult one again as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think I see Thomas's hand up.
Yeah, there's a lot of emphasis recently on electric bikes. So do we have anything that either supports or provides safety guidance or any type of information from the police department on electric bicycles or bicycles that have electric support systems?
That's a great question. And I would have to go to our chief and find out if they have any literature at this time. So that's something we could bring back to the commission. I'm sure we're going to be talking about this again.
And scooters, electric scooters.
Yeah, scooters too. Motorized, either electric or otherwise. We could bring some information back to you guys next month.
Awesome. So
right.
next event.
Okay, thank you for your support of the bicycle repair clinic. And once we have a date and time, we'll let you guys know. Thank you, Vice Mayor. I don't know if he has to log off. Okay. So the next one was Bike to Anywhere or Wherever Day. So as mentioned before, it's on May 20th. Let me look at my calendar just to make sure I'm remembering. I believe that's a Friday. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, I am. Okay, so that's a Friday. And that is a 7 to 9 a.m. And there's a table we set out in front of City Hall, and staff will arrange for snacks, hydration, and any bicycle transportation literature. But we do need 2 volunteers to man the table. Is there anyone who is an early bird?
I will. I'm not an early bird, but I'll do it. I live pretty close to City Hall, and that'll allow me to get to work afterwards, so I can do that.
Okay. All right. Anyone else want to join?
7 to 9.
7 a.m. to 9 p.m. It's really fun. Right, Josh?
Yeah, it's 7 a.m. to 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Sorry.
It's only a couple hours. It's the bike in, and really,
I'm glad you clarified that, because I was going to have to.
We usually get.
I was
there
going to
about
have to
6.
retract my volunteer offer, because there's no way I'm going there from 7 in the morning.
Those are my
I'll bring you lunch.
workouts.
I'll bring you lunch.
Yeah.
But it's usually, we usually get there about 15 to 20 minutes before 7 to make sure we're set up and ready to go. It does start at 7 and then goes until 9 to catch those people going into town. So yeah, it's kind of, and it's a good morning. I had multiple conversations with a lot of different people. It was a very fun morning, to tell you the truth. I enjoyed it.
Done it before with other organizations I've worked with, and it's a lot of fun. I would volunteer, but I probably will be working it at another org.
I'll do it. I'm up really early.
Okay.
So I'm not confused, but I had an idea about if you had an event, if whether this is it or not it.
Mhm.
But if you're doing trails and things, have you thought about, for example, making maybe little stickers or badges that, like when you go and vote and it says "I voted."
I biked
It'd
it.
be interesting if there was a trail and if there were like 5 stations or something along the route. And some people might want to try and collect all of them and you maybe have the year on it. And
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, let's do that with the next discussion point is exactly where that idea belongs. So,
okay,
but let's close the loop. So for Bike to Anywhere, Wherever Day, we've got Commissioner Current and Ehart, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And if you need a backup because someone can't do it, you guys can call me.
Okay. Great. This is
Same
awesome.
here.
Okay. All right. Next one up, we're on a roll, is my screen work? There we go. So the family bike event. So Joseph, you already brought up a great idea. So this one is where you're going to pick a trail, date and time, and then if there is some ideas for something cool, like almost like a trail badge or some sort of accomplishment pin or something like that you'd want to hand out. They get all 3 trails, or if they have certain mile markers down a trail, that's where this conversation would happen. And so for this one, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because I was not at the January meeting, but I think there is a small ad hoc group that's dealing with bicycle
Yes,
events. Okay.
I believe it would me and Becky.
Okay.
Oh, geez, yes.
And so that group would be great. And you can add one more person who would be interested in that. Maybe it's Commissioner Ehart with the great idea to work with staff on some ideas and scope for this. But a discussion on when and which trail you would like to do it on would be great for tonight.
I'll start off by throwing out a trail idea. I would think it would be really cool to do something down the Hetchy. I know it's not 100% completed, but it goes to a good portion of Milpitas, and I always thought that would be a cool, do multi little events at each portion of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Hetchy goes from Peacock Park, which is basically at the border of Fremont. Then it goes all the way through Milpitas, all the way down to Main Street. So it goes pretty far. So yeah, that's an idea. It doesn't have to be a trail. We'd want to look at the route as a group, just to see where it goes. If you're encouraging youth to bike, you would want them
on a protected pathway.
Yeah, but that's a great idea. Hetchy, we'll just have to look at it.
Yeah,
and see how far it goes. But yeah, great idea. Anyone else have ideas for trails or other locale?
No, I think that's a good one.
I think it's a good one to start. And one of the things is that it presents less traffic control issues because it's mostly working through parks, and it has stoplights for crossing and so on. So it's certainly a relatively safe route to choose. But future events, I mean, we can definitely come up with different ideas.
Yeah, Tom, it's,
The McCarthy Ranch levee that goes basically from south to north Milpitas doesn't have intersections, doesn't have traffic, doesn't have any type of safety concerns. And that takes you from north to south also.
Mhm.
And it's a bicycle route
Okay,
already.
that's a good point.
Yeah, it's the Coyote Creek, it
Mhm.
borders Coyote Creek.
Correct.
And I know it goes up to Dixon Landing. I think it goes up into Fremont. The question is, how far do we take it, for example? But
well, and
Yeah.
if we were to do an event on that one to that county parts, isn't it? Would we have to, how would that go about getting permission to do an event, Ted's?
You don't need permission to get people to bike on it because the
Yes.
creeks have, the creekside improvements exactly for this purpose. So in the past, for example, we did do the Coyote Creek. The meetup was on Dixon Landing. There's a little cul-de-sac just at the entrance, which is a city street, I believe. And so the commission popped up a table there and greeted people as they went in, and off people rode their bikes. So they did all the sort of community outreach and conversation before they got onto the trail itself. So
Okay.
that's how they did it in the past. But yeah, you can ride on the trails as long as they're
Yeah.
open. Yeah. You guys might want to think, since it's on the same slide, if you look at a trail for the smaller, family bike meetup, and then your future bike event could be something like that's a little bit larger. And to Alan's point about not crossing intersections with the family bike event, a future larger street event could be where you go from park to park, and there's different things available at each park, but you're biking, down Hetch Hetchy. So that's an opportunity you guys could explore as well.
It's, so with the family bike event, Renee, though, a time that within the rec calendar that would be good for us to look at doing something like that? That you guys aren't already planning events or any good opening on that calendar?
I look at Josh and Lisa's faces, and the funny answer is no, but I'm just kidding. So summer is pretty packed. I think what's most important is the timing for marketing and developing the idea and the event thoroughly. So you would want to have the event out and market that for a couple months, and then planning before that usually takes, for something like this, probably 4 months. So if we're looking at 6 months from now, you're looking at August, maybe, early September. Maybe it's a Labor Day ride, could do something.
Well,
like
we
that.
need to stay away from fire season where the air quality will be so poor that no one will want to be outside.
Yes, that's something that's been constant the last couple of years. So I would say if you're looking 6 months out, that gives you guys time, because you're the ones that are going to be working the family bike event. And then it gives Rec and Community Services time to help you, and then also develop the marketing material for you. So late August, early September would probably be realistic with our current workload.
So I would
Well,
think
it's right in the middle of fire season. I mean, that's the one concern I have.
Well, there's fires right now. So, when is it not? It's kind of.
Well, there's always fires, but in the last 2 to 3 years, I'd say 3 years, there's been a period beginning of August through the end of September. One year even went into October when there were many days when the air quality was so poor that you could not healthily be outside, and people were closing their windows and this kind of stuff. That I'm talking about that kind of fires. That when fires
And
are going on to that degree. And that happens in August and September.
And it might be that we pick a date and we put a caveat that depending on air quality, I mean, same thing as what had to happen with Holiday Magic. I know the wind got so bad that it had to be canceled one night. So,
It was rain.
right.
Flooded.
Yes.
Yes, rain.
It
So
flooded.
there's always ways of kind of building that caveat that if air quality is at a certain level, it might get postponed or canceled.
Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds
October, November, and December are out for recreation as months. But again, like I mentioned, the commission, you are
We're
the
doing
ones
it.
that are working it. Yeah, it's not a staff event. This is a commission event. So
Well, I know me and Betty had volunteered to have an ad hoc, and
mhm.
you said we could add one more.
Mhm.
Is there anyone that would like to jump in on that ad hoc? And maybe we can work on coming up with some dates and stuff.
Mhm.
I see a hand of Thomas. Are you volunteering?
Yes, I'll work with you on that.
Okay. Just to clarify with an ad hoc committee, are we allowed to talk amongst ourselves via email, or what
Yes.
is the rules?
Yeah. You can converse as an ad hoc, and you are not making any decisions on behalf of the commission. So
Okay.
yeah.
Thing has to come before commission, so you guys
Correct.
cannot move anything forward in any way.
Right.
Yeah. Then I'm not able to right now take notes, but would it be possible for someone to email me Becky's and Thomas's information, and I would did a conversation going with the three of us via email, and then next month we can come with maybe a 5-date area and kind of a rough idea of what we think.
Mhm.
If I'm overstepping with the two of you on what you guys think is possible, please tell me. I'm more than willing to do whatever possible, but I think that would be the best routes of time is if the three of us communicate via email and then come back next month, and our plan will be have a couple dates and maybe a trail that we would like to see it on, and ask for volunteers from there and see how it goes.
Sure, sounds good.
Is the rest of the commission okay with that being our game plan?
Sounds good to me.
I see a couple of heads. I heard a yes, so Renee, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That works.
Okay.
Do you want
I will
to?
make sure I email you in the morning.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you, Josh.
Do you guys want to, at the same time, look at future bike events? I think you guys can have like a little discussion right now, and then give that ad hoc committee
Some direction.
some direction. Yeah, because you don't want to plan two things that are, so similar that it's hard to discern one from the other. Yeah, so if you guys want to talk about the future bike events, which is a larger, more, I will call it a citywide event, but it's just a larger event.
With the future bike event, would that be something that we would come up with some ideas and then later on work with some city staff on actually building it out, and it wouldn't be a commission driven only type thing?
Yeah, so this one would be, what I understand it from the conversations that you guys had with the work plan is this would be a larger event, which would require more staff time and a budget that you don't have. So you would have to go back to council and ask for a budget, which would include staff time. So, yes, it would be larger. Not 4th of July event larger, but a larger event than the family bike event. You guys talked just a second ago about, the Hetch Hetchy Trail, Main Streets come up before, but it's really just a conversation at this point. Once you guys give us an idea of a scope, then we go ahead and build that out and identify a budget and realistic location and things like that.
So I'm comfortable saying our ad hoc committee can come up with ideas for both and then bring the idea back. But I'm totally open if anyone else on the commission want to throw ideas out. That's great. I don't want to waste everyone's time with talking a lot about it too.
Yeah, unless anyone has an idea they want to share now, this is the time to do it.
And you guys, I mean, if anyone else on the commission, Renee, if they have an idea that they want to get to the ad hoc committee, would they be able to email you and Josh and send us ideas, or that a no?
No, they need to talk about it now. So you need to
Okay.
have as much conversation as possible, with the public.
Okay.
I'm good with you guys going ahead and talking about both events and then coming back and reporting in.
Okay.
That'd be
Yeah,
fine with
We
you.
can do it. We can do
One
it.
idea that occurs to me is, you need to do some research about this, but I know when I lived in Chicago, a slightly bigger city than Milpitas, they had a ride, an evening ride. It was, sort of after the flow of rush hour, but I mean, there were hundreds of people that did this ride. Through the city streets, and you could go up Evans and Piedmont Road. I mean, you could just a bunch of people out, and people would decorate their bikes in crazy ways, and then we'd all end up in a park someplace, and there would be refreshments.
There's a similar
Anyway,
thing that happens monthly in city of San Jose called Bike Party. What I believe it put on by the Bike Coalition and a bunch of side volunteers. I would to know a lot more about that when I worked in the industry, but I've been out of the bike industry for a while. But there is stuff like that happens in San Jose, and I think that's kind of what we want our family one to be, is a mini version of that. It what I think is what the commission could do. Where I'm thinking the bigger event, and this is my thought, it's more of a via type event with it stages and booths where we ask community partner to come out and sponsor it, and do different things. It kind of where my head is on the two separate things. And so I'm kind of thinking the commission sponsored one will be a meetup ride down Coyote Creek, or maybe a ride in, well, no, Edwin doesn't allow bikes, but a ride somewhere like that, more of a bike party on a small scale. And then the bigger one would be more of a via tie, is what I'm thinking. Molly, you're muted.
I don't understand what a via taille is.
Oh, it's a big event that City of San Jose put on where they close off a street and a park, and they have vendors come out. They have entertainment. Like 2 years ago, it was on the Guadalupe River Park, and they had at Discovery Meadow, they had a whole event going on there where people would come up the trail biking, and then they would stop and have some fun and entertainment. Viatai does a big donation drive where they team up with nonprofit to donate stuff to. So it's a big bike party with the city and local nonprofit teaming up to put it on in the city of San Jose. Did that answer your question, Molly? Okay. I think I call Joseph's hand up.
Yeah, I had an idea about, like, for example, if it's a trail thing and if it's a family event, so there are kids involved, maybe at the toward the end, that we hide some variation of an Easter egg hunt, where you hide eggs in the park or something like that, where we could do something like take small things that kids would find fun and just kind of hide them in the park and let them try and find stuff at the end of the event, as a kind of a reward.
Okay, that's a great kind of right, a G attached in my head.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly, yes.
And my dog can come because my dog can find amazing things in the park. Amazing things in the park. I'm constantly astonished at what he comes back with. So he'll clean up anything kids don't find. My dog will find, and you won't have to worry about leaving anything behind.
You have to teach him how to ride a bike.
Yeah, then he can participate.
Or did it
He
say
runs alongside my bike. He does that, but I'm riding the bike. He's not quite there yet.
Well, I think we got some great ideas, and Becky, Thomas, and I did an email saying going with the three of us and come back with some ideas next month. And we'll pick. I would like to say maybe did a couple dates and stuff for the family event and some ideas for the bigger event, and we'll talk about it next month and try to hammer it out
Okay,
by next month. If that, can we add that to the agenda for next month?
Yep, you will have an update to give. You got it.
Awesome. I think is there any more stuff with the presentation we needed to talk about? I know we hit the 3 events.
We did. We got some great volunteerism and input from you guys. So we'll add 2 of the items back for discussion. So the family bike event and larger bike event as well. So we'll discuss that next month.
Awesome. And then so we'll go ahead and move on to our next thing. What it looks like we are to our city liaison report. Renee, do you have anything or any of your staff that they need to report on?
So all recreation facilities are back open on the 14th, and not for Valentine's Day, but just we're back open on the 14th, and hopefully the Omicron has hit its surge and is on its downward trend. So the senior center is still open for senior lunch, but it'll be back open for programs and activities. Community center will be back open, and the sports center as well for full service. We currently are offering testing for COVID if you need it 3 days a week at the community center on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. We've really increased that capacity. So there are some same day or same week appointments. You can find those links on the city's COVID page if you need them. And then also at the sports center, we have testing every first and third Friday, and with some quick turnarounds on those tests. So if you need a test, you can get one in Milpitas every single week if you need it.
Awesome.
So that's great news there. That's been going on for quite a while, but there's some increased capacity at the community center. I know last month we had some public comment from some of our avid pickleball players. So just wanted to let you guys know that the city council is addressing the feedback from the pickleball players as part of their budget process and capital improvement program process. So they're handling that. As you are advisory to the council, they're handling it. So we didn't want to go backwards. So if there's an update that's needed in the future, we'll bring it back to this group. But as some of you know, maybe not all, this body does review the capital improvement program projects, especially for parks and community and recreation facilities. And so you help and give advisement to the council on the priority of those. So you'll see that come back actually next month. So those are all upcoming for you guys. And I think that's it. We'll have some more updates about some outdoor events coming up in the next few months, exciting community services and social services. So we'll have those updates for you in March.
Cool. And I know the council liaison had to head out since he had another meeting. So we're good there. Then future agenda items. I know you did talk about a couple, Renee. I see you got a handful listed here to kind of FYI. Anything that we need to know or talk about here before we adjourn?
Nope, unless commissioners have another item. We're good to go.
Hey,
Any commissioner have any upcoming item they would like to see on the agenda? I'm not seeing any hands or head movement other than a couple head say no. So I think we are. Are you sure, Molly? Are you sure that nothing? So I think we are good. Let's go ahead and adjourn the meeting and look forward to seeing you all next month. I always want to say next week. I don't know why.
thank
All right.
you.
Great. Good to
So
see you
we'll
guys. Have a great
adjourn the
month.
meeting and have a good night,
Bye.
you all.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.